Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here once again to join you for another episode of My Hero Academia, Season 5, Episode 12. And this is just not any old episode. This is the 100th episode of My Hero Academia. I meant to try and do this just before the 13th episode came out, but I got, delayed and all that stuff. Heck, I got, for personal reasons. But yeah. Anyway. This is the final episode of the joint training arc, in which concludes, the arc and builds up to the next one, or the one after, but we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, the episode begins with Izuku Midoriya praising Shinso for his skills in battle, and how much he's like Eraser Edge with the capturing weapon, and how he's the one that's like improving compared to him. Though there's Eraser agreeing with the assistant. And Flad King ends up telling them that while they have some reviews to do, they are certain that Shinsho will be joining Corsair next year, much to everyone's excitement, with some students of Class 1A and Class 1B asking which class will be joining, and they said that's not to be decided yet. And finally, Mina asks Eraserhead to reprint Mino for what he did last episode, the dirty bastard. Yeah. Let's see, but anyway, yeah. We've got Momino going on about how, despite the fact that they lost, however, due to Midoriya's being blank on that stuff, they're better prepared this time. They'll win next time. However, his teacher tells him to stop it as the class is over. Let's see. Midoriya ends up thinking about how Momino did actually copy his quirk, but doesn't understand why he didn't explode and why he called it a blank. Let's see, Eraserhead then asks him, Momino, to visit Eri the following day, much to Midoriya's surprise. Where we cut to like a scene between Miro visiting Eri, or Luminium, if you will, as she's learning to write and all that stuff, and I feel that she's writing letters to both Midoriya and Luminium as a way of saying thanks, which is kind of nice and all that stuff. Later, we end up seeing Bakugo training with Midoriya to try and Bakugo trying to provoke him to use Black Whip, but with All Might saying that the plan is to make sure it doesn't go wild again. Let's see, with Midoriya realizing that the quirk has been locked away and won't emerge anytime soon. And we get a little flashback where Midoriya and All Might are in the private room they usually talk about, when it comes to One for All. But this time, Bakugo is joined there, saying that since he knows the truth about the quirk, he figured he should be involved with this too. With All Might revealing that he's a bit surprised that All for One for All is growing, and the other existence with quirks about it, and commenting about how his master's predecessor was a black-haired hero, not the bold, cowboy sort of type image-based appearance hero and all that stuff. With Bakugo ends up asking about the awakening about the time, and wondered what's the connection, if this ability has something to do with connection of All for One, which kind of he technically created One for All and multiple quirks thing, which gives Izuku and All Might a slight discomfort of the thing, but all that stuff. Back to training. Bakugo ends up telling, Midoriya that he'll keep beating him until he unleashes Black Whip, and then beat him while he's using it too. Midoriya starts mumbling to himself and all that stuff, and about his feelings about the power and how he can't seem to use it right now, which puts off Bakugo from fighting Midoriya and decides to leave until Midoriya is ready to face him and all that stuff, and he actually has the quirk working. With Midoriya thinking about All for One's power and all that stuff. Anyway, back at the Class 1A school, we end up having, the students of Class 1A and Class 1B mingling with each other, with Tetsu berating Red Riot about, despite the fact that, while, yes, he could argue done better, he had the advantage of being a bit more heat resistance, but Red Riot has stronger endurance and all that stuff, so you get sort of like a bromance between those two continuing. Anyway, amongst some of the other, so you see a bunch of the other class students interacting with each other and all that stuff, with Tsukiyomi interacting with the Mushroom Girl, and Kendo and Momo interacting with each other along with Jiro and that Size-Go quirk. Yeah, so you see quite a few of them, but the funniest thing there is Mineta being forced to watch some sort of TV program by Ashida, because clearly he was not happy about his behavior, probably trying to reprimand him on something. I'm not sure what. I can't recall what this kind of technique is of punishing someone, but heck, I think you sometimes see it in films and TV shows and all that stuff. So yeah, you have either telling them how they're having like beef stew or something, and during this, let's see, Shoto asks Midori about him having two quirks, wondering why he told him to go all out with the sports festival, but Midori was hiding his second quirk thing. However, Midori tries to cover himself by saying it's a variant of his quirk. This is the first time it happened, which Shoto believes him and apologizes, with Bakugo commenting like he's a bit dense, despite Fitzy also figuring, despite the fact realizing something's up with Midoriya. So it's like one step forward, two step back with Shoto trying to figure out the secret of Midoriya's quirk. So that's funny and all that stuff. Anyway, with you having then Shoto messaging his father about learning about more about Flashfire, much to his delight, since Shoto's when it comes to him. Anyway, we see the next scene is the teachers reviewing the exercises with Shinso the other day, and they've all agreed to and then he'll be applied next year with an eraser. When President Mike provoking Eraserhead about after the meeting about whether or not he sees anything of himself with Shinsho or something to do with someone called Shikura Kumro, who, for those who read the spin-off manga of My Hero Vigilantes, will know who that character is. And for anime watchers, it's only in the manga. Otherwise, you probably would have heard of this character by now. But yeah, unless you read the mangas, not the spin-off manga. Anyway, the next day we have Midoriya arriving in front of the teacher's dorm with Eri and all that stuff, and with her hide behind Miura because Momonoa is appeared, and she goes he's the bad side of UA, much to his overreaction, saying why is that? And with Miura pointing out how he was the bad side of UA, saying that he's on the path of righteousness and all that stuff. With Eraserhead also saying that he brought Midoriya and Miro together to make sure that Eri doesn't get too startled by Monomo's ecstatic personality and all that stuff, which much to his annoyance and all that stuff. And then we learn that he tries to copy it but can't use the quirk because it's a blank, because he can't actually copy stockpiling abilities. Well, he can copy them, but he can't use the abilities because their powers were stockpiling over time, and Fat Gum is an example of this, and also Midoriya's, which he's relieved, since if he copied his quirk, he would have exploded and all that stuff. And Aizawa ends up with feeling that he wanted Momonoa to copy the quirk so that she'd have a chance of learning it through him and all that stuff, since that path not happens, with Eri then apologizing to everyone how much trouble she's giving them, wishing I had the power, but Midoriya ends up with reminding her that her power saved him, and it depends on how you use it and all that stuff, which cheers her up. Anyway, so it seems like a bunch of time has passed as Class 1A is celebrating the fact that it's snowing and all that stuff, and apparently Katsuki and Shoto are currently doing the final days of their supplementary classes for the provision of hero license at last. We see a scene with them. With Granaoka and there's two students from the other school there. I've forgotten their names, and I'm going to try and search them up. Which cuts to so with you getting there's a funny scene before where Denki muses how getting the license was the one thing he did better than those two. Though everyone says he's being petty. Anyway, a gang of criminals led by a water user quirk steals a bunch of purses and money and all that wallets from everyone. A nearby taxi with All Might, Katsuki, and Shoto nearby as they go to help to deal with the villains, and they end up beating them, all that stuff. With even though the villain tries to escape with his gang, but Bakugo beats him up, and Shoto blocks him with his ice with the water and all that stuff. eventually defeating them all. There was a brief scene of All Might being rescued by Bakugo when he tries to help a civilian, telling him not to risk his life and stuff. With All Might commenting on how helpless he's become and all that stuff. And that he's quirkless. Anyway, they defeat the villain. Let's see, Shelter defeats the water villain and all that stuff. And with a flash freeze heat wave, Gritzy and the leader's knocked out with his explosions. Let's see, explosions and all that stuff. And the explosions of his gear breaks apart, but we'll get to that in a minute. As you get Bakugo angrily at Shelter for finally using that flash freeze heat wave against this villain when he used it against Midoriya, but not him. So you can see Bakugo still a bit mad that Shelter didn't go all out in their fight. And then you have Midoriya arriving with another hero called Sliding Go, who recognizes them for the Sports Festival and congratulations them for defeating the villains and returning the store of goods and calling them future heroes, with even teasing Bakugo with his personality a bit. And as the gear blows up, he says that this stuff is from the black market, so of course it'd probably explode and all that stuff. It's cheap work. With All Might congratulating the two for being for doing a job well done, they arrive back in the post-credit scenes where they return to their class with with the lights are off until everyone goes like, surprise, congratulations on passing the hero license supplementary exams, with Sugar Man giving them a cake, which he said he'd do earlier, with Midoriya saying with Bakugo that now they can do hero work together, with Mako thinking that Midoriya is looking down on him, which he says and that's not the case, and that's the end of the episode. It's a nice quiet down. This episode is a nice quiet down episode for concluding the arc and all that stuff, tying up some loose ends and all that stuff, particularly with Momono's blank quirk and all that stuff about what he meant by the blank quirk, and All Might talking about the All for One, and One for All, connections and all that stuff. But yeah, so you've got stuff like that. I'm finally glad to confirm that Shinsho is going to be joining, the hero course next year, but it's remained ambiguous to which class he's actually joining, though manga readers might have an idea which class he's joining if you're up to date with the manga, but anime watchers probably do not know, and they probably have to wait at least to season 7, maybe 8 to find out and all that stuff. So we got that and all that stuff, and so there we got that. And I do like how Midoriya says that Shinso was probably better than him in terms of helping others in the thing, which Aizawa agrees. And we get an interesting, bit of Aizawa's, backstory during the time when he was in the student and all that stuff, with Present Mike talking about their former classmate and all that stuff. So which only those who have read My Hero Academia Vigilantes will probably know the full scale of this character, and those who read the main manga series know what exactly they're referring to, given what happens in one of the future arcs. But that is going to be spoiler for anime only watchers and all that stuff. So it's I like how we got an explanation for Momono's the Phantom Thief's quirk ability, that why he can copy where he can copy quirks. There are certain quirks he refers to as blanks, in which quirks with stockpile. So let's see, why he can copy any quirk if it's a power that requires you to store up power. It ain't gonna work for him and all that stuff, because he needs to store up power and he only has the quirks for 5 minutes, so it doesn't work and all that stuff. I do like how he seems to have such a bad reputation amongst all the other classes and teachers, with many of them saying whatever, Mitty Lumenium calling him the bad side of UA to Eri. It's that is hilarious. It's mostly due to his obsessive streak with trying to one up Class 1A. You can even still see him doing that, even though he lost a fight. His class lost the joint training battles against them, but he says oh, it's only because of technicality and that stuff. So it shows he's kind of a bit of a sore loser. It's even when Class 1A beats him, he's still determined to try and best them and all that stuff. But that doesn't. But yeah, but it's Everyone tells, let's see, even his teacher can get annoyed saying, let's see, we're not doing another match again. It's class is already over, and even Ayazawa going like, his behavior might off-put Ariel and maybe even intimidate her, so that's why they brought Midoriya and Minoru and all that stuff. So yeah, I also like that little nice scene of her wanting to write letters for Midoriya and Lumenium, even though Lumenium, let's see, knows about it. Midoriya does not yet, which I think might come in handy for later in the series, but we're not going to get into that just yet. Let's see, I mean, not to like season 7 or 8 probably. And it really depends on how they paced season 6 with what I think, see, and all that stuff. But yeah. Anyway, let's see, what else is there to tell of. I do like how the students of Class 1A and Class 1B are mingling, or at least the ones that ain't Momomo, because it's like the others, even though that they're a bit frustrated they lost against Class 1A, they still want to have a civil relationship with them, and more of a friendly rivalry, and unlike the obsessive one that Momono has. So you have seen them socializing, but I'm kind of lazy. But I really find it funny how determined, let's see, Ashido is determined to punish Mineta for his behavior, either by reporting to Aizawa or forcing him to watch who knows what back in their dormitories and all that stuff. So that, anyway, I do like how Bakugo, let's see, is now part of like the meetings between All Might and Midoriya, and even the training, let's see, since he now knows the secret, and Bakugo's learning about how they, let's see, talk about the quirks and all that stuff with him, pointing out the disturbing fact that since All for One created this quirk, it might be very based similar off of their bit of the abilities to an extent, with them, let's see, stockpiling other people's quirks, much to the disturbance of Midoriya and All Might, though. Let's see, from what I can tell, with the exception of All Might, who was quirkless, all the other heroes still kept their powers. It just seemed to have copied the abilities and just stockpiled the ones that was within it. But yeah, that kind of thought to that kind of disturbs the two of them about how it's a copy of, like, let's see, All for One is interesting and that stuff. You're getting Midoriya thinking about it. But I do like how, let's see, Bakugo's just determined to try and beat Midoriya with his new power rather than just helping him. And then he just leaves when Midoriya stops mumbling again because he can't stand Midoriya's mumbling. All that stuff. Anyway, it's clear that some time has passed, particularly with the setting of winter, that stuff where it's starting to snow, and it's revealed that Bakugo and Shoto have gone to their last provisional license exams, which, for those who would like, let's see, switching that with them to passing, as we've seen, we don't see them do the exam. We at least see, like, the other students that were with Granoroka, the killer whale superhero and all that stuff. Him, like, saying that he's glad that they're finally, you won't have to see them after this, being like sort of like a drill sergeant. All that stuff, but we're glad to see them finally pass, because now they can actually go out on the playing field and actually do hero work. You see, I mean, one of the biggest problems I think you could say for those who want to see more Bakugo and Shoto is the fact that due to not passing the hero license exams, they can't do, like, let's see, hero missions that the other students of Class 1A can, like the internships that were, like, doing, like, the overhaul arc and all that stuff. So we get a demonstration of, let's see, their abilities, with them defeating a group of, a villain led by a water hero and all that stuff, who has been trying to steal, let's see, wallets and purses for the season. Let's see, for the season holiday, since most people will be out shopping and the heroes won't be working so much. So, let's see, I like how, let's see, easily those two dispatch them and all that stuff. With the villain going on, like, do you know how much I've worked hard for this plan? I have more determination than you heroes and all that stuff. And let's see, Bakugo and Shoto both tell him in their own ways that even to get a job, well, that's no excuse to stealing wallets and all that stuff. So, let's see, you get Shoto beating him with the move he used against Midoriya, much to Bakugo's annoyance, which probably implies that Bakugo probably wants a rematch with, let's see, Shoto using his full ability, since his win last year's sports festival, he felt cheated and all that stuff. There's also a little scene where you get, let's see, while you get the crowd noticing All Might and him trying to do hero work still of trying to stay a passing bystander, he would have been crushed by that lamp, let's see, a broken lamppost if Bakugo didn't explode it, saying that All Might stay out of the way, with All Might commenting about his own let's see, vulnerability now, since he no longer has his quirk and all that stuff. And after when the villains are beaten, we end up learning about, let's see, we're introduced to this new hero called Sliding Go, who seems to have a quirk about sliding, let's see, as he moves towards Bakugo and Shoto, and he's with All Might, and he congratulates them and makes fun of Bakugo, which I found amusing, as you got too many heroes and people making fun of Bakugo's behavior during the sports festival. Let's see, the gear explodes and all that stuff. Let's see, which he says it's black market, but it might be a bit suspicious why he's arrived just in time as the heroes defeated, the students have defeated the villains. And anyway, we come back to Bakugo and Shoto being celebrated by the class with him being annoyed. But one thing I forgot to comment earlier when the others were commenting about their final licensing exam, the TV was announcing about these new support quirk items, which many manga readers know is building up towards the Meta Liberation Army arc. Spoilers for anime-only viewers, but from an interesting thing from the preview, it seems that we're going to be skipping this arc for the time being and going to the one after this. Now, it's very interesting how they're going to do this pace, and I was just wondering how they're going to do this, since how this is going to be paced out, because I'm pretty certain the Endeavor internship arc from, granted, because we're getting the Christmas special, but from those who've seen the posters by now know that it's the Endeavor internship arc that's next, and with Midoriya, Shoto, and Bakugo. So I'm very curious to see how they do the Meta Liberation Army arc, because this one's a rather unique arc with My Hero Academia. And the members of Class 1A don't appear much. In fact, the later half of this episode was the only time that they appeared in it. But I'm not sure if this means that they're going to do a separate mini-series, after the joint training. I mean, the Endeavor agency arc, or I don't know. But I guess we have to wait and see what episode 14 shows in its opening and see if we're going to get some of the Meta Liberation Army stuff, because that is the arc that comes before the Endeavor agency arc. So, yeah. Overall, I'll give this episode an 8 out of 10. It's a fun episode, nice cooldown episode. With you're finally getting Shoto and Bakugo getting their licenses, with Shinso being confirmed to join the hero course next year. And with learning a bit more about the the blanks from Mamano's quirk, and the more possible connections between One for All and All for One than Midoriya and All Might never considered, since when discussing with Bakugo and all that stuff. And we end up learning a bit about the order of the hero's inherited quirk, as Namina, as All Might's master was preceded by a small guy with black hair and all that stuff. It was that coat figure if you've seen in the openings and all that stuff. So we got that. So overall, it's a nice conclusion to the joint training arc. And while it looked like it was also setting up the Meta Liberation arc from the previews, it seems like it's going to the arc afterwards. I'm not sure how long it's going to be, but how they're going to pace this episodes. I'm not sure they're going to do a full-on season because of how many chapters there are. So might be quick, but who knows? It might also mean that the villains get a bit of a split, but who knows? It might mean that the Meta Liberation arc gets paced this season or not, but we have to wait and see. But anyway, I'm Blue Star Saber, signing off. Plus Ultra.